Okay, good morning, folks. We're going to start in about a minute or two. Let me know that you can hear me. Okay, that's good. All right, so welcome everybody to the 10-Minute Trades Trade Room. We're here for ISM services. So if you read your daily report, first off, my name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director for 10-Minute Trades. Please remember that all the trades we discuss, they're for educational purposes only. It is possible to lose money trading futures. Okay, so I've got two different charts set up this morning, but let's look at the daily report. I do want to welcome our friends on YouTube. We're streaming this morning. Now, if you read your daily report, you know that this is not one of the best reports that we've seen. In fact, this report has been retired and it's come back from retirement and it's misbehaving. Okay, it's had two stops in a row using the standard breakout. The market's opening, that's why you're getting that blast in the NQ right now. So this is a report. Obviously, it can't possibly be a family money trade if it has a record like it has now. If you read the report, due to poor performance and unstable reactions throughout 2020, we benched it. Now it started to behave a little bit better, and then the last two have been pretty wicked stop outs. It had a couple that were working, or I'd say three that worked, May, June, and July. But I would say overall, since the world crisis began, this report has not been working properly, okay? That's the reality. Until it was a very good report prior to the crisis, and the crisis just damaged the impact, and the way that this report reacts just has not been consistent. So look, you're not going to trade reports that aren't consistent. Now there's also a little junior report that takes place before this, and that's what I'm looking at right here. It's just called final services, and before the regular ISM manufacturing that we had the other day, there's a sister or brother report to that called final manufacturing. So there's many reports that trade at 9:45, almost always prior to ISM manufacturing. It's called final manufacturing at 9:45, and then ISM. This report, ISM services, used to be called ISM non-manufacturing. Some of the calendars still call it that. Hold on one second, folks. Some of them still call it that. Just looking to see what's going on in front of the office here. My next door neighbor sadly passed away the other night. And he had a cat that was like in the house. And fortunately, it's a miracle. Somehow they found a home for his cat. I was very happy about that. He was a nice guy. I didn't know him that well. When I say neighbor, it's like office neighbor, not like a house neighbor, so to speak. and he had a cat in his office, I guess. But I think they're going to clean out his office because that's the noise I'm hearing out front. So let's talk about this 945 report. This is a report we haven't been watching at all. Just very little because it also lost its impact. And the most recent report, we haven't even been paying attention to it. So I didn't record it very well in July. You won't be able to see that particular report. But I thought that what we would do is set up a trade for it, trying the NQ, and I'll set up a test trade on gold as well. Record it. Sometimes what we see, and it's a little bit unusual, but sometimes what we see is the smaller, less impactful reports sometimes become tradable, even though the bigger reports don't. So in other words, this 945 trade, if it becomes tradable, I would not mind trading it. I don't really care if it's a smaller report. If it starts to give us a good reaction, that's okay. So it's always worth looking at some of the smaller reports now, again, I should say, because we are starting to see a moderate amount of reports working. You know, we're seeing University of Michigan has worked, and we've also seen the building permits and housing starts. That report has been working. That might even be a family trade. It's been working so well. So it's perfectly good. It's good. First of all, it's good to practice. Second, it's good to see what these reports are doing so you can decide, you know, what you want to trade if you want more trading than strictly the family money trades. There are people that like to trade more. These two reports that are with us today, you know, we have not done very much testing on the 945 one. And the ISM, non-manufacturing, or ISM services, we've done a lot of testing on it. There is not a great setup that's been reliable, and that's why I'm not really that interested in throwing real money at it today. But if I were going to trade this 945 report, my gold setup would be at least a 7 bracket because of the time of day. It's 9:45. The market's going to be pretty active. I'd look for targets of 4 and 10 with a stop of 10 and an entry time, and this is gold, of 9:44.59. Okay, it's a 9:45 report, 9:44.59. So going back over it from the top, so a bracket of 7, skip down to position 1 is a one contract. Position 2 size is also a 1 contract. When you're testing, there's no reason to trade 10 contracts or 5 contracts. Makes no sense. You're just testing. So you can trade one of each. And then targets 4 ticks and 10 ticks. Not really expecting a giant, fast, monstrous move, but it is, and it's also a services report, not manufacturing. The markets seem to like manufacturing a little bit more than services. And then my entry time, which is the time our orders will show up on the chart, are 9:44.59. And it is a breakout trade. I'm not trading real money for reasons I explained. And then I like to label the trade gold. And its final services is the name of the trade. I can apply it, okay it, and then enable it. And my charts are ready. On the other side, we have an NQ test, and NQ can be very difficult at 9:45. Look at the market behavior on the NQ. That's not easy. That's pretty choppy. Big move up, down, up, down. So you can't do a tiny bracket. If you do a tiny bracket, you're going to get caught, possibly on the wrong side of the trade. You're going to get caught on the wrong side of the trade. So the NQ setup is, I would use a pretty big bracket. I'd use a bracket at least of 10. A bracket of 10. Position size 1 is going to be 6. Position size 2, bracket of 10. Position 1 size is a 6. Position 2 size is a, let's use 12. Not 112, 12. Hang on, make your position sizes 1 each. Then my targets. 1 each. Position size 1 is a 1. Position size 2 is a 1. Profit target 1 is a 6. Profit target 2 is a 12. Let's play it real conservative. Let's make it a 10. Our stop will be 13. And our entry time is again 9:44. 9:44, 59, and it's a breakout trade. I like to label the trades. NQ, final services. Okay, and I'll go back over the gold setup real quick. So my NQ is set up. We need to make sure you're in sync by going to the website time.is. Okay, we'll do that again for the next trade. The gold setup, click on strategies, double click the name of the software, JOBB. The gold bracket is 7. Position size 1 is a 1. Position size 2 is a 1. Profit target 1 is a 4. Profit target 2 is a 10. Stop loss is 10. Entry time 9:44:59. Trading in sim. This is not a live trade. This report is unknown and it's been inconsistent. If you like to label your trades, there's a field called label. You can call it whatever you like that identifies it for you, and then apply it and okay it, and then check the enabled box. I check my time sync by going to the website time.is, and it actually put my computer in sync. Now, there is no DMM for this report because keep in mind, this is 15 minutes before the report we're here to watch, okay? We're really here to watch the ISM manufacturing, non-manufacturing, and I'll go over that in a minute. This trade should not take very long. I think there's a possibility that it could work on the NQ. The NQ, I believe, and we'll talk about it on the next report, is tradable on news up until 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, the NQ often moves during a 10 o'clock news report, but I believe it's hard to tell for sure if it's a 10 o'clock NQ move, which happens very often even when there's not news, or if it's also being influenced by the news. So it's complicated to use the NQ as an index at 10 o'clock. And obviously all times are Eastern time. So they're expecting 54.5, 54.4 on the services. We'll let the trade take place because we're testing. And thanks for watching on YouTube. If a couple of you over there would give us a like, we'd really appreciate it. Subscribe to our channel so you know the next time we'll be streaming. And we will be back here today at 4 p.m. "45 seconds. So we're looking at a couple of things. Is this report going to be released on time? That's a factor, very important factor in whether you can trade a report. I noticed last night that Australia retail was 2 minutes late. There was a Australia retail, they kind of ruined that report because they made a preliminary report. So there's actually 2 Australia retail reports in 1 month, which kind of makes it a very strange report. It also traded with trade balance. Okay. Okay, so the bracket was small on the NQ, but it shot right through all the targets. It's very, when you see that kind of behavior, it definitely gets my guard up. So gold fills pretty late after the news hits the first target. And I'm going to leave it. I'll shrink my stop about halfway, not all the way. But that kind of incredible jerky movement on the NQ makes it extremely hard to trade for news. You have to have a very big bracket. So gold looks like it moves the right way on that report. I'm going to turn these off for now. Let me save the video. I want to go right into ISM non-manufacturing because that's the report we're here for. So let me just save this video. We can look at it after our next trade. So that's called final services. And it looks like my setup, it filled in 15 seconds, but there's a couple of things you have to be very aware of. Look at the trend in gold. It's very big to the downside. So did we just get a move in gold that's just telling you it's not the trade, it's not so much the news that matters as much as it very well could be the fact that you had a continuing trend in gold? It's extremely possible that that's the situation. Now, I'm only testing this report. I'm not even interested in doing a live report on micro gold because this report has been so poor for so long, okay? It's been really, if you look at the DMM, it's been on hiatus. It came back in May. And ironically, May, June, and July had good trades. So it's 3 out of the last 5, okay, which is not terrible. But you have to judge the report on its history. The history of this report is troubled, right? This report has a troubled history. I'm going to use the exact DMM on our test. It's a bracket of 6. That scares me a little bit. I'd like to see maybe a bigger bracket, but that's what the DMM says. That's what we're going with. So it's a bracket of 6 on gold. It's a target of 7 and a target of 15. It's a stop of 10, and it's an entry time or an activate time, which is the same as entry time. And it's going to be 9:59:59. Let me record this. Now, there will be times when, we're in the room, we're doing a test, and a report works. That doesn't mean automatically you're going to trade that report next month. You've got to look back. What's the testing been? How's it done the last 3 or 4 months? That's what you need to know. You don't just jump into a report because it traded once, okay. I'm seeing, though, these earlier reports, they've been inconsistent, but they look like they're starting to do a little bit better. So we'll do some more testing on them. Our DMM for the gold setup on ISM services, bracket of 6. Position size 1 is a 1. Position size 2 is a 1. Profit target 1 is a 7. And you can modify these targets. They can be 6. It could be 5. Between 5 and 7 is fine. Target 2, it could be 13. Doesn't have to be 15. It's best if we move around our targets a little bit. The stop is 10. And the activation time is 9:59:59. It's gold, ISM services. Now, you can also save a template. In other words, go to template, go to save, and you can call this ISM services gold and date it today. If you date it today, 10/5, then you really know, that's the way you can know what setups you have. So next month, you can come back, go to template, go to load, and ISM services dated 10/5 with gold is there. You can load it back in, okay? That's creating a template. Apply it and okay it. So we're testing the breakout, and we'll see how that goes, okay? On the NQ, we have a tested setup. It's not a DMM setup, it's a tested setup, meaning we don't have a DMM for this report, but we've done testing on the NQ. We discovered that the NQ is moving. Like I said, I'm not overly crazy about trading NQ at 10 o'clock on news, but this is a report that virtually any setup would be a welcome setup. Anything we can find that works, because it's been so difficult on this report for the past year and a half to find a setup that works. The bracket on the NQ is a bracket of 12. Hold it. I think, let me make sure that I'm right. Bracket of 15. So it's a nice big fat bracket. Target, my first target is 10. My second target is 20. The stop is 12. So a bracket of 15 starting from the top. Position size 1 is a 1. You have to save your own templates, Riaz. Those, you don't have any templates unless you save them. I don't send out those templates. or anything. Those, you just make your own templates if you want to. I don't save this. I don't have regular templates, Riaz. I was just showing everybody how to make one. I like to use the market because I want to use the market conditions. You can load a template to save time, but it's ultimately going to be the market conditions that might completely change a template. So it's really a time saver if you want to do it, but they're not the templates. I was just showing you how to do it. Starting again, so bracket of 15 on the NQ, position size 1 is a 1, position size 2 is a 1, that means 1 contract for each. Profit target 1 is 10 ticks, profit target 2 is 20 ticks, our stop is 12. And again, the entry time, it's a 10 o'clock report, 9:59. 59. Look at gold's volatility is difficult today. It's a breakout trade. You can label it on the field label just so you have a way to differentiate the two trades that are going to be up in the control panel. NQ, services, ISM services, right? When you apply it and okay it, it shows up in the control panel. You enable it so that the trade will trigger. Look at the volatility. This would be a difficult day because there's so much volatility on a report that's been quite difficult. Right? This is a challenged report because over the past 18 months, it's been a difficult report to trade. But you know, you kind of get a heads up that maybe it won't be so bad when you see that the early trade, which is a much less impactful collection of news, seems to have a response that looks reasonably normal. It gives you a little bit of thinking along the lines that maybe ISM non-manufacturing will look a little normal also. Because even with the extreme volatility, the ISM, the final services, had a report that didn't look that terrible from a behavioral standpoint. There's quite a few elements that make up the ISM report. I don't want to shrink my gold chart so much that we can't tell what's going on. So the important number is the ISM manufacturing PMI, non-manufacturing PMI. They're looking at 60. And you can see, look at the volatility on both instruments. It definitely makes for a tricky trade. Okay, Tess, it definitely makes for a tricky trade. You've got a report that hasn't been itself in a very long time. You have a market that's got, I would call it, pretty extreme volatility, right? We definitely have extreme volatility. The NQ is up so many ticks. You can put the NQ on points with the indicator that we have on the screen. Net change display generates that number. Net change display is on ticks. I'm putting it on points because the NQ, you want to look at it on points. Ballpark, over 90 points. So you have, you know, and the markets have been very, very bearish for the past week or so. So you're going to get these bounce backs also. but the markets have extreme volatility now. We have about a minute and a half, 2 minutes or so. We tested. To test your time sync, go to the website time.is. All you do is go to the website time.is. And if that doesn't put your computer in sync, you can download Dimension 4. It's in the folder in the trade room on the taskbar in that open file folder. So we've got about a minute. So we want to see, A, does the news come out on time? They're expecting 60. ISM non-manufacturing. Then they also have ISM non-manufacturing employment. There's two important elements, but the main number is ISM non-manufacturing. That's going to be released now. So NQ fills and reverses, and gold looked like it worked. We'll watch the video. NQ, see, honestly, folks, I would not trade NQ this time of day. Look at the chop, the behavior in the NQ at 10 o'clock. I just think the NQ is not tradable for what we do, the way we do it at 10 o'clock. So it just tells me that I don't want to trade the NQ at 10 o'clock. It just reinforces what I feel is something I've been feeling for a long, long time. Now, gold, let's look at the video. Give me 1 second. So maybe, right? Maybe this report, it's not a family money trade because his history over the past year has been lousy. We can't make this a family money trade because it would not have returned enough profits over the past year, let alone the past 18 months. And we didn't even trade it all year. We took quite a few months off. So right now, it's looking like a 50-50. It's a coin toss trade, right? And we talk about coin toss trades all the time. All the time. Now, we also have a trap trade set up for it. I'm testing a brand new version of the trap trade software. So I hope that I'll have the testing done this week. The final upgrade for a while on the trap trade. Let me get the video out. So ISM services, and we're going to watch gold. Not really that interested in spending time on the NQ. So let's watch the gold trade because it looked like it was safe, pretty calm. But you certainly would have had cause to be conservative because of the volatility in gold. There's a lot of volatility. So here comes the news. The news comes out. It's on time perfectly. Gold jerks to the downside and fills both targets pretty normally. So watch gold again on this report. So you had 2 stops in a row, and now it's a winner. Clearly looks like a safe trade. The bracket seems safe size-wise. Entry time, everything looked good on the DMM. You know, if you'd want to take a quick look at why the NQ is really troubling at 10 o'clock, look at the NQ. It's just like a banshee, right? It fills you, it looks pretty normal on the fill, and then it just jolts to the downside on potentially good news. Then it jolts up. It's just a chop fest. The NQ is just a chop fest. But the gold trade, our setup looks good. So the issue that we're dealing with on this report, the issue that we're dealing with is we're looking at a report that's a coin toss, right? So what do I mean when I say it's a coin toss? If you look at the daily report after the trade, right? And if we added another field in here, 10-5 is a winner. So you got 3 winners. No, you know what? You got 4 out of 6. You got 4 out of 6. 4 out of 6 breakouts. It may be time to give this report a try in our regular, smaller test account, okay? With some real money. If this trade's coming back, it would be great. It's not a huge, scary report, but it does have its, you know, it does have its poor performance. Look at, just as an educational, look at last month. Lou, that indicator is the squeeze. It's a indicator we got on the internet. It's the squeeze for NinjaTrader. So last month, watch the right side of the screen. So it fills, and then it does not, let's see, it does not follow through. It changes direction and stops you out. So it's the perfect example of the same setup that looked fine. I mean, the same setup looked fine. Lou, if you send me an email, help@10minutetrades.com, so looking at last month's report, I'll be able to tell you where to get that, Lou. After looking at last month's report and the month before, which was also a stop out, you just don't have behavior after a report's been not traded for 6 months. The risk is still there. The risk is still there. It went from being one of our best trades, then it became one of our worst trades. Now it may be making a comeback. So we'll possibly give it a shot in our test account, okay? I don't think I'm prepared to make this report a family money trade because, you know, it's like I said, too many issues with the report that took place not that long ago. All right, so Tess, I'm going to stick around and try and help Tess a little bit. Does anybody have any questions? Otherwise, we're going to be back here at 4 p.m. Thanks, everybody, for watching on YouTube. You'll get an email for the next time we're streaming. We'll be streaming sometime tomorrow, I'm sure. Any questions, folks?